I'll take that.
Okay, Ben.
Well, I mean, my perspective is from a guy who spent nearly 20 years as a print guy. So, you know, that shapes my answer in the sense that if Jay's answer to my question I find is newsworthy and useful, it doesn't matter to me whether he said it on or off camera. Whereas that's very different for another media outlet. I mean, I work for a multimedia company and we do video multimedia every day, but my primary concern is not about sort of the exchange or having footage. It's just about the information. Having said that, I think I've only covered it with televised briefings, but I think this issue can be a little bit overrated because to Harvard's point, I think it's the biggest problem is repetition and the usefulness. I mean, if you sort of vet a transcript of any briefing, and I don't ask you to do that, but you kind of go through and like, what did we actually learn, right? What did we learn today? And it goes to the reporters and it goes to the press secretary. And if I could change it, it would be okay. Let's just stipulate that we all know what happened yesterday. Okay, we know that the president inherited. What is it, Jay? The greatest percent. Hang on, we're spending.
Such a great
Right,
president.
and so
and he was sworn into office. We were losing 750.
Right. It's like just like push a button.
11 straight quarters of economic growth, 25 straight months of private sector jobs.
So it would not shock you to say I've heard that before. So if we stipulate that, let's go on to it. And you say we've got nothing more. I'm not going to answer that. I've already answered that. Move on. Or what we've already said, and here's the new information, and so we can advance the story. And that goes to any topic. I would love to have, and so you could shorten the things. It would be more efficient, and we could all say, okay, we're getting somewhere or not. So I think the televising of it, I think sometimes becomes a proxy for that. That everybody's trying to make their point and get on camera, and that everyone has to say the same thing. And that may or may not be true, but that's not all of it. I think I'd love to see the briefings just become more efficient and transparent, and everybody kind of knows what the situation is. Here's what we're going to answer. Here's what we're not going to answer. Let's have, let's just have this thing move along. And I think everybody would be better served by that.
All right, Jake, you're from TV. What do you think on that?
Well, I mean, I understand all the complaints about the briefings, and I don't disagree with any of them. But I just don't know that there's any solution. It just is what it is. He's not going to give us a list of things that he's going to answer and that he's not going to answer, and I wouldn't want a list like that anyway. It will surprise you not at all to learn that Jay sometimes thinks the TV people are playing to the cameras. And I have to say that I don't. That he sometimes thinks I'm playing to the cameras or my camera, and I have to say I don't think that's true. I think I ask questions far more calmly on camera than I do off camera because I know the camera's there. I think it has the opposite effect on me, and I think it has the opposite effect.
A sedative effect.
Because I don't want, because the point is,
If you've seen him on TV, imagine what he's like.
But that's true, and that's true. And I think that it does have a sedative effect in a lot of instances, because if the question and the answer are what's important, and I learned this early with Gibbs, who also speaks more calmly on camera than he does off camera, as I do. And I think that Gibbs and I, because we had been combative with one another for years, early on in the administration, had a couple run-ins that all of a sudden made us both take it down a notch.
Made news, actually.
Which I didn't want.
Right.
Which I didn't want. Yes, and for that reason, I think I asked my questions a lot more calmly. So I just disagree with that premise, and this is something Jay and I talk about.
An ongoing conversation. But if I could just say, I want to take an opposite perspective, and I stand by what I said, and I agree with what Ben said. But there is also a purpose for putting an official, whether it's me or somebody else, on the grill, if you will, and asking the same question in different ways a number of times to see if you can pry something additional out of it. And I don't, the frustration that Ben has with some of the people in the briefing room may be greater than mine. I actually don't mind it. It's it's part of the job, and I get it, and part of my job is to handle that. And so there is some, I think, theatrics that come along with televising the briefing, but there's also an aspect of the briefing and its repetitiveness that is, part of the journalistic responsibility.
It's also one of the few opportunities that we as journalists who are proxies for the public have an opportunity to challenge people in power. It's one of the few opportunities that exists. And I know that a lot of times you think that we're just being dramatic. I had other words in mind. I'll say dramatic.
Because this is televised.
Right, so I'm keeping it down. And I think a lot of times we feel that we are speaking truth to power. And I think, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think that that's part of what motivates sometimes a lot of our questions. I know that when I asked about Libya, how many people have to die before the United States is going to get involved, some in the administration thought that was an overly dramatic question. But I wasn't. It was a serious question. And you guys are proud of what you did in Libya.
Well, we changed our policy because
All right, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. I'm sorry, I see some questions, but the panelists will stick around for a few minutes, hopefully, if you have any, and of course for the scholarship students, if you want to ask questions. I want to thank everyone, Jackie Kucinich from USA Today, Ben Feller of the AP, Carol Lee from the Wall Street Journal, and Jake Tapper from ABC News. And thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed the panel. I'm Julie Mason.